Here's a little preview of a build I'm doing. So I took one of those M16 gel ball blasters. This was the VDD Toys version, and wanted to go ahead and do something different with it. Previously, I had this one painted this turquoise. However, the paint did not take right, and I do not like how it looks. If you're up close, it's way too imperfect for my liking. So I wanted to go ahead and do something a little more dramatic, I guess, or a little, a bigger project that I'd use this base for, which is very similar to building off an M4A1, but I've done a lot of those lately, so I thought we'd try this with this M16 instead. So you can see everything's kind of been disassembled here. Printed most of my parts. They're kind of ready to get painted. That's what these, metal pieces are on here for, so that they can be hung while they're being painted. And then this is like, on a rail like this. So again, so that when it's being painted, that makes it a lot easier for me. But we'll talk a little bit about what I'm going to do here. So first off, you've got the main part of the blaster here. And this is the barrel nut that's made, again, for an airsoft that's threaded. So it'll fit here, right, like this, but it doesn't stay on. So I'll probably do hot glue. And the reason why I do hot glue here is because if I do hot glue here, you can take it off, right? If you decide you want to do something different. With super glue, you end up possibly running the risk of breaking something if you go to take it off. So I'll do hot glue and then a couple small, relatively shallow screws that can go into this piece. And again, that won't affect the use of ever putting this back on it if you're to take this kit off. And you've got a bit of clearance to go in here because this piece, you can definitely get a shallow screw in there is what I'm trying to say. So that's what I'll go ahead and do right there with that. And then the barrel will just slide over like so. So this barrel I had to print in a couple pieces, partially because of my printer, also because of the length that I wanted it, because I had a specific length where I wanted this barrel to end slightly, inside here, so that the tip, the threaded tip or fake suppressor I'm going to put on here is going to be like slightly recessed in. So again, all these pieces I've printed here are free on Thingiverse in most cases, sometimes free on Cults 3D. So if you're looking for them, and of course, I've always said before, search airsoft a lot of times. That's how you can find a lot of these parts. They don't fit perfect, but you can make them work. I'm going to relocate the battery here, and I'm going to go up top. And so I actually made a small hole right here in this rail, the top rail, a small hole here, because that's where the wire is going to end up feeding out of, and it's going to go into this battery box. So this actually is a print I paid for. It was like $3, 3D tack. This was on Cults 3D. And so this is like a riser / battery box, but it's pretty low profile. It's not too big. And this will serve a couple purposes, obviously the battery, but also I'll mount it here to this top of the barrel and then over to the top of this. That way that helps add stability to it. The little door just pops on and off, which I didn't think would be very stable. So I kind of made a little pin that I'll paint to that you can drop in the pin, and that'll just help keep that door on tighter when you have the battery in there. So, and it can still fit a small 11.1 volt battery, the small, like kind of rectangle style one. So for the back end, since we're not going to have a stock there, wanted to go ahead and put like a cool plug on there. So here's a piece I kind of modified. I had to sand a little bit because this had a kind of clamp up here, which wouldn't work with this. It would block your charging handle. So to take that off, I added a piece here that I welded or plastic welded to it, and then just put that. I had a little leftover spot piece from one of my logos that I put on there. So I think it'll look cool. Of course, that's all going to get painted the same color. And then, so that it can mount on here nicely, I went ahead and I mounted a screw in here, and basically, with glue and 3D pen, so that stays in there. And that way, when we put this on, you can just tighten it down on this side, and it'll look nice and finished. There's a spot for the bolt to recess almost in, but that was the best solution I thought I had on hand. And I still think that'll look really nice when I'm done. So now really just going to paint. Waiting on some spray paint to come, looking for some other colors that I wanted. I really like the ultra matte finish spray paints, and they're only in certain colors. So have some of those coming. Of course, I'll be able to reuse that stock on any M4 type blaster that has this type of stock connection. And then this barrel too, I might see if I can do something to salvage that paint job. I think I'd probably have to strip it, which just becomes a real pain. So I don't know what I'll end up doing with that piece right now. Of course, just hold on to it and we can always switch this back. Anyway, that was a pretty long video, but kind of walked you through all the steps of the build plan and everything that I did. And of course, I will show you another video once it's all done and put together and looking pretty. And of course, we'll test it out and actually shoot it. The other thing that you don't see right now is because it is painting, it's drying right now, is the inner barrel piece and then some barrel stabilizer pieces that go in here to keep that barrel, the outer barrel that goes on around this, straight. So you'll see that in, and because you can see through these slats, I wanted to paint it nice, even though you don't really see it really well. So I painted it, I'm using like a chrome spray paint. I thought that would look cool for the spots where you can see it. All right, that's it. Comments, questions, let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions about the builds, any questions about the 3D printing, I'll do my best to answer them. I am not a 3D printer expert by any means. I salvage a lot of my parts with the finishing work when they don't print perfect. Anyway, like, subscribe, share my channel, and participate in all those giveaways. Thanks.